And now to close out this event, I'd like to call back to the stage my colleague Ben Smith, Semafor's co-founder and editor-in-chief, and he's going to be speaking with Tucker Carlson, host of Tucker Carlson Tonight on Fox News. Tucker is joining us remotely from New York. Ben, good luck.
Thank you, Steve. Tucker, wow, nice closet.
And Smith, ladies and gentlemen.
And I'm glad you agreed to join us.
Someone just texted me and said you were pretty tough with Taylor Lorenz, which I was heartened to hear, but it's easy to hurt her feelings. So I hope you'll check your privilege.
I'm just hoping you'll let me ask questions and not steamroll me, because you're a professional and I'm not.
Well, you're the tough one, Ben.
But I have been watching your show a lot, and you spend a lot of time laughing about labels that are thrown at you. Racist, white supremacist, the most host of the most racist show in the history of cable television. Actually, I'd rather not ask you about the labels, but sort of give you an opportunity to talk about what you believe. And to begin with, do you believe white people are superior to other races?
No, of course not. And the funny thing is, that's one of those.
Let me just stop on the yes/no question there, and just to put it a little differently before you respond, which is,
actually, if I could just answer your question.
Do you think that white people have more of a claim on America?
I don't think white people are inherently superior in any way.
Do you think that white people have some claim on America that people of other races don't?
Of course not. I mean, first of all, I'm a Christian, so I think God made everybody, and therefore everyone has equal value in his eyes. That's the essential value of every person is the same. But the idea that I harbor some sort of deep racial animus is like, I think there are a lot of criticisms you could level at me. I think sometimes I overstate the case, I get pissed, I can be very nasty. You've been on the receiving end of that. I know you can vouch for that. But the idea that if you were to look at my texts or listen to my personal conversations or read my mind, you would find no instance where I'm like, I'm mad at black people. 100% of the people that I'm mad at are well-educated white liberals. In my mind, the sort of archetype of the person I don't like is like a 38-year-old female white lawyer with a barren personal life. That's who yells at me on airplanes. And so I always think people like, you're racist.
Okay, let me.
Actually, I'm not mad at black people. Like, what are you talking about?
Let me show you, I think, why people react this way. I think we have a clip I just wanted to show you. Sydney, can you play that?
In political terms, this policy is called the Great Replacement, the replacement of legacy Americans with more obedient people from faraway countries.
So Tucker, what's a legacy American?
People who were born here, black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, people who are citizens, people who participated, generationally in our system. And a lot of them don't buy the program of the modern Democratic Party because it doesn't serve them. And so the center of the Democratic electoral strategy going forward, I'm not guessing, they talk about it constantly, you're a journalist, you must have noticed, is to bring in new people who will vote for them. Now that,
do you think,
let me just finish if you don't mind. This is not something that I made up or found on the internet. I don't even really go on the internet. This is something that Democrats, including, the architect of Obama's last victory, have talked about at great lengths in pieces, monographs on television. They've written books about it. So this is not like some crackpot Alex Jones. Do you think when you talk about this is the central strategy of the Democratic Party? So to be like, I can't believe you said that. I'm pouring it back to them.
You talked about generational investment. How many generations makes you a legacy American?
I'm just saying people who live here now, including immigrants.
Do you have any empathy? Do you have any empathy for somebody who sees that clip, somebody who's whose parents are from India, from China, who are Jewish, and say, wow, I just see that clip, and I don't really think this guy includes me in his vision of America?
Slow down. Okay. No, I don't have any, as you said, empathy for people who...
Do you understand why they might think that?
Please let me, if you don't mind, if I could finish. I have no empathy for people who derive their judgments about anything from 30-second clips on Media Matters. I do an hour live every single night. If you want to know what I think, I don't know that there's anyone who's more transparent about it than I am. Not all of my views are correct. Not all of them are attractive. You may laugh at some of them. You may be offended by others, but I'm very clear about what I think. I believe that people are not the sum total of their genetics. I say that constantly, and as a Christian, I really mean it. I actually buy the kind of Dr. Seuss, please, version of race understanding, which is judge a person by what he does, not by how he looks. I actually believe that. I grew up in Southern California in the 70s, and I say it constantly.
You do,
And
but
so
yet somehow, Tucker,
hold
like,
on,
and I guess
hold
the
on.
thing that, you have an hour every night, as you said. Let me, and
Wait a second.
I want to
You
move on to
asked
some
me
other
a-
questions.
Okay,
but,
don't filibuster me.
But you are misunderstood, perhaps, in your view a lot. Then, both by, as you said,
It's not
kind of the New York
misunderstood.
Times,
I say
but
it- I'm
also,
saying it now.
but also you keep having, sort of explicit white supremacists who have, on secret message boards who work for you, and you have to. I know this has been very painful
I've
for you
never
in some
met a white
cases.
supremacist. I've never even met a white supremacist.
You have
What
these
is a white
folks. You have
supremacist?
folks who have posted.
Wait,
You have
wait,
a
so-
large
so-
number
so
of
then,
people.
wait,
Scott
hold
Greer,
on,
Blake
hold
Neff.
on.
I'm just curious why
This
you've
is
been
not-
sort of flypaper for
You're
these
giving
people
me a
on your
lecture,
staff.
You're not asking me a question.
That was the question. Why have you been flypaper for these
Deep
racists?
breath. I've never had a white supremacist work for me. I don't think I've ever talked to a white supremacist. Please let me finish.
And I don't want to fight about labels.
Hold on, slow down. I'm not sure what that means. I know that it's a slur. It's the worst thing one can be. I don't really understand the terms, but let me just say,
You've had to let
unequivocally,
people
hold on,
go
let
who
me-
said
here's my
objectionable
last sentence.
stuff.
Whoa, now, Ben. I believe that people are not defined by their race, any race, black, white, Asian, pick a race. People are defined, their value derives from A, the fact they were created by God. I believe that. Maybe you don't. I do. And B, by what they do, by the choices they make, by who they are. They have agency. They're not, part of some larger group. They're individuals. I believe in the individual. And I say that virtually every night. Now, if you don't hear that, or if you, for whatever reason, want to claim that I'm some racist, I don't know what to say to you. I'm stating my sincere views as reflected in my personal life and my professional life as clearly as I can.
Do you feel that in your own career you've been kind of discriminated against as a white Protestant?
No.
And I ask in part because I had been told that Roger Ailes, and that you'd sort of at some point expressed that Roger Ailes, the former head of Fox, had a preference for Irish Catholics, and that it kind of held you back. Was that?
I think I've been held back. And by the way, I can say this sincerely, if I could, that I've never in my life been unhappy except because of self-pity. Self-pity is, I'm speaking for myself, but I think it's true for most people. Self-pity is the root of misery. And so I really try not to feel self-pity. I have no grounds for it anyway. I've had a wonderful life. I have an unusually happy family. I live where I want. I say what I want. I'm blessed, unlike a lot of journalists who are leading miserable lives. So but I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't feel I've been discriminated against. But I do believe in fairness, and I don't think you should ever hire someone on the basis of his race or sex. That's grotesque to me. It's a violation of the basic promise of the country, which is we're going to bring people from around the world who may look different, be from different backgrounds, but we're going to treat them all the same, which is to say specifically on the basis of their ability and their virtue, on the choices they make, not on the genes they have. That's Nazi shit. I'm against that. I'm serious.
Let me ask you about a different subject, which is January 6th. And I think...
Well, no, I kind of like this stuff. You're not responding to me.
No, I'm not responding to you. I'm interviewing you.
Does that sound racist to you? You've just suggested I'm a white supremacist.
I found that clip disturbing. I think the language of replacement theory, which you've popularized, the language of replacement theory is like specifically the language used by neo-Nazis to recruit people to their cause. It has been, obviously, I'm not suggesting some straight line between words and actions, but it is the phrase that has been used by mass shooters. I wonder if you don't have any compunction or regret about popularizing that?
This is why you are considered correctly a propagandist and not a journalist, because I just explained in detail, with total sincerity, what I believe. You ignored it and invoked mass shooters. So that's not what you just did.
I asked you how you felt about it. I actually do want to ask you about something. I'd like to ask about something that actually I think we probably have more common ground on.
This is revealing how ridiculous you are, and I think it's evident to any fair person watching.
I guess I'm trying to give you an opportunity to respond to things that
you're
have been said and
not.
written about you. But let's
You're
move to
like, white
something.
supremacist,
But
mass
I'm really
shooter,
not
great
looking
replacement
to
theory. And I'm
have
like,
a
does this
shouting
sound like
match
racist
with you.
ideology? And you're like, I'm disturbed by the Media Matters clip for 8 seconds. Like, are you being serious?
Can we talk? I would love to talk about something that I think maybe that we can that there's maybe more common ground on, which is January 6th, and in
We
specific.
haven't talked about that enough. I agree. That's the single most important
something that the FBI's very aggressive use of informants and I would say particularly the Gretchen Whitmer case, where these alleged extremists were acquitted. And I wonder, and the media, in particular as a media story, often picks up these FBI charges, writes the story about terror charges, and then the acquittal doesn't get that kind of play. You focused a lot on that, and I wonder if it's caused you, as it has me, to sort of rethink both the FBI's treatment and the media's coverage of Muslims after 9/11.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And the Patriot Act and the Iraq War. The whole thing. Look, I think just to pull back a couple feet, it's really important when you make a mistake to acknowledge it and to try to learn from it. This is something that I try to inculcate in my kids. It's a process. It's all of our functional institutions do this. At the military, issues after action reports. How did we screw up? How can we not screw up next time? And the Patriot Act, the rush to eliminate core historic civil liberties in this country after 9/11 has not been, I would say, examined in the depth that it requires. And I don't think there have been enough mea culpas. I personally, who supported the Iraq War tepidly, have apologized for it in a very heartfelt way. I continue to. I think I've learned a lot from it. I have apologized, let me do it again, for my support of the Patriot Act. Due process is not just, something we have as kind of an added feature. It's central to maintaining a free country. And when you get rid of it, you've become you move a lot closer to tyranny. So,
and I don't mean this as a gotcha, but have you looked into so I think there's some Muslim men still in jail from these kind of, these were often people who said crazy stuff on social media and then were recruited by an informant.
Which should be allowed, look, the Brandenburg decision is pretty clear. If you're inciting someone, which is the 1967 free speech case that allows us to have the jobs that we do, though I know your news organizations don't take advantage of it, but mine does. We actually have free speech at Fox, and it's really clear. If you're urging someone to imminent violence, that is not protected. Anything else is. And so the idea that hate speech is a real category, or speech that offends me should be banned or should become criminally prosecutable is insane.
Do you feel?
Yes,
do you feel I think we all obviously to some degree feel kind of commercial constraints, and I'm curious if at Fox in particular you feel, could you go negative on Trump in a really sustained way? Could you support someone else without permission from above and without your audience turning off?
Yeah, when you and everybody else in the American media were cheering on a new war with Syria or Iran or some other insane neocon quagmire you guys push constantly, and Trump kind of fell for it, and I went after him directly, multiple times on that.
And you don't have to clear that with,
I don't clear anything.
I
don't clear anything with anybody. I found my script, late, I write. So no, look. The truth is, it's just so interesting to me. You may hate my politics. Obviously, you do. Fine with me. But the fact that there's only one TV channel in the entire country, a country of 350 million people, that allows actual free speech, and that's the one that everyone at the New York Times, the Washington Post, or any of these other absurd organizations want to destroy.
I wanted to talk to you. I'm not trying to silence you, although a little in this particular riff, because you can watch his show any night and hear it. But
just get the Media Matters clip.
But I guess there is. I'm curious about your ambitions. There are friends of yours, to the extent you've still got them in Washington, who are talking about you're running for president in 2024, and I'm curious what your thought process is around that.
I have zero ambition, not just politically, but in life. My ambition is to write my script, by 8 p.m. And I'm not just saying that. Ask anyone who works with me or knows me. I'm not I don't think that way. I don't want power. I've never wanted power. I'm annoyed by things. I want them to change, but I've never been motivated by a desire to control people. I despise the libertarians, but my instincts are almost all libertarian in that way, and that's true.
So is that's you're not running?
I'm not running. I
don't want to belabor that one.
I'm a talk show host, and I enjoy my job, by the way. And it's what a blessing it is to say what you really think. Like, only women can get pregnant. I dare you to say that.
You spoke.
No, you can't say that. I can't.
You did an interview recently with Megyn Kelly where you talked about your concern, which I think a lot of people feel about potential civil conflict in this country, about sort of how scary and dangerous it's getting. I guess to begin with, do you feel there's anything? I mean, we put up. Actually, we weren't watching before these numbers. Gallup has around trust declining in the media to like 11% in all institutions, really. I mean, do you feel that you're doing anything to restore that, to try to push those numbers back up? Do you think there's anything you can do?
Yes. And I'm trying my very hardest to tell the truth. And when I screw it up, I correct it immediately. If it's a factual error, when my views on things change, I say so. I don't pretend I didn't used to think that. I admit it. I mean, it's hard for me to lie about it anyway because we have YouTube. But I just, as a matter of conscience, try and do that anyway. And I really try my hardest to tell the truth. I mean it.
Do you feel that you're
not going to catch me lying? I mean, you'll definitely catch me making mistakes. I mean, I do 5 hours live every week, but you will never catch me lying on purpose. That I don't think. I mean, if you can find an example, throw it at me. But I really try to tell the truth. Now, I don't say everything that I think. There are a lot of truths. I don't tell them all. I leave some out. I shade things. And when I get pissed, I do tend to, overstate. And as my wife is always reminding me, and I regret that. But I don't lie. I feel like a lot of people lie. This is a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Okay,
it's not.
okay.
It's a total lie.
You have another hour tonight.
It,
You got the hour tonight. Do you feel though that, I mean, if you are, as I think a lot of us are, like sort of earnestly concerned. I think the word you used was balkanization, but the notion that these divisions in the country are getting kind of deeper and more dangerous. I watch your show and I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but that your audience enjoys it when you kind of pour gasoline on those fires, not when you try to put them out. And I wonder, like, the nature of cable news ratings.
Gasoline. It's so funny.
But hold on. I wonder if the nature of cable, of the sort of ratings-driven business of cable news in general, of yours in particular. I mean this seriously. Basically makes it impossible to do anything else.
I love this. I've been in TV for 27 years. I don't know how to read a ratings chart. Ask anyone who works for me or has worked with me. I never look at the ratings. I'm not on the ratings email. I'm not even on email.
But you're in the ratings business, fundamentally.
I don't know what my ratings are, and I mean that. You may not believe me. I don't own a TV. That's true. So I'm actually never thinking about ratings.
You know what your audience likes.
Can I just finish my answer? I love it's to point out what the people in charge who have all the power, whose water you carry, are doing wrong. That's pouring gasoline on the fire. It used to be called holding the powerful accountable. But for example, the Biden administration is draining the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is one of the most valuable assets the United States owns, and selling some of it to China. Now, is it pouring gasoline on the fire to point that out? No, it's called journalism.
Do you think there's anything you do or can do to, obviously every journalist's job, tell the truth, deliver the facts. Is there anything that you ought to be doing to sort of diminish this, what you call balkanization?
Yes, there is, and I'll tell you exactly what it is.
And not just us. I know you have a lot of views on what we ought to be doing. Actually, I'm most curious about how you think about it for yourself.
I'll tell you, and that's de-racialize things, okay? The scariest thing that could happen to America is to wind up in a country that cleaves along racial lines. Because that's just Rwanda. Like, that's a cul-de-sac. We know where that ends. And identity politics is the root there.
And now, you think people left and right who see you, both, your friends and your enemies who see you doing that.
Please, let me just answer your smart question, because I think it's an important one. So the most important thing we can do, and we should do, people who have an audience, is to de-racialize the conversation. Now, the Democratic Party is like, it's white people, white men versus everybody else. I hate that. That's not true. And if you look at the numbers, and I've been highlighting this, not because I want to help the Republican Party, which I despise. I hope that's clear. I don't ever want to defend the Republican Party, which does not represent me. What I want to do is point out that the divisions are not fundamentally racial. Look at Biden's approval numbers among self-described Hispanics. I think it's 24%. Now, you could say that's good news for the Republicans. Again, I really don't care, and I mean it. It's good news for America that what's not happening is white people over 50 versus everybody else. You don't want that. That is an unsolvable divide. What you're seeing now is people lining up on the basis of their actual interests, not racial interests, actual interests, mostly economic interests, against the people who are hurting them, which is the people in charge. I really believe that.
Okay, and
so that,
Tucker, we are out of time, and I appreciate. I'm glad you could join us. Thank you.
That was fun.